All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. Hope everybody is having an awesome morning. Just give me one couple additional minutes here. Working on some technical difficulties on my end. I had to restart my computer this morning, but we will get to it. Make sure you guys have access to the chat. And let's see here. All right. Cool deal. All right. All right, so as always, let's turn off all distractions, grab the pen and paper for notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. All right, so had some interesting happenings overnight that we will take a look at. Then we will, so we'll take a look at the fundamentals real quick, and then we will dive into the charts. All right, so let's get to it. Let's hop over to trading economics and check things out. So real quick, before I fully dive in, drop me one in the chat if you can hear me okay, and you can see my screen. Beautiful. Appreciate it. Elo, good to see you this morning. All right, so first things up, European stocks lower to kick off the month of August. Things were pretty slow Sunday, Monday, generally as they are at the end of the month, end of the cycle. You have a lot of companies, a lot of folks, a lot of bankers kind of closing out their books for the month. So things slow down a bit there, but European stocks, European shares kicked off the August month in the red, with the DAX losing 0.7% after touching a record level the day before, while Stock 600 was down 0.4%. The auto sector was one of the biggest laggards after BMW warned about supply chain costs. All right. So that is one thing that the market has their eyes on. Did I not do this? Hold on one more second. Let's see here. All right. Then we had the RBA, Reserve Bank of Australia. Market expectation was for them to increase rates by 25 basis points. Well, what happened was they held the rates the same. They held rates the same. So what does that mean, Ryan? What does that mean? Let's read it. Kept the cash rate unchanged at 4.1% during its August meeting, extending the rate pause for a second successive month and defying market consensus of a 25 basis point rate hike. Let's get that in there. All right. While highlighting that cost pressures in the country are easing, the central bank viewed inflation at a level of 6% is still too high. The board reiterated that some future tightening may be needed to ensure inflation returns to the target range between 2 to 3% in a reasonable time frame. However, and they added that rate adjustments will depend on how the economy and prices evolve, right? So they went back to the data dependence tone, right? Which I talked about last month as well. The board projected that inflation will be around 3.25% by the end of 2024 and be back within the intended corridor late 2025. Meantime, GDP growth is seen around 1.75% over 2024, and unemployment is forecasted to rise gradually to around 4.5% late next year. Central bank also kept unchanged interest rate on exchange settlement balance at 4%. So they're looking at the data. They're seeing things kind of slow down a bit. And so they want to continue to see if what they've already done continues to slow things down, which could mean that they keep the rate higher for longer. So we'll have to continue to watch that and see how that develops. If things start to escalate again, then they'll have to go back to increasing those rates. So we'll watch the data with them and see how things evolve over time. All right, but that was the big news from last night. And we'll take a look at the Aussie pairs to see how, see what the impact was overall. All right, let's go back. Then we had Chinese manufacturing sinks. China general manufacturing PMI fell to 49.2 in July from 50.5 in June, missing market estimates of 50.3, while hitting its lowest reading in 6 months. It was also the first fall in factory activity since April, as new orders dropped after growing in the prior 2 months. Foreign sales contracted the most since September 2022, and buying levels were down for the first time since January. Further employment decline for the 5th month running, while backlogs of work were stable. Delivery times got a bit worse, and some suppliers reduced their inventory levels. On the prices, input costs fell for the 4th month, and input changes decreased further on competitive pricing strategies. Finally, confidence hit a 4-month peak, but the degree of optimism was historically subdued. So you got back and forth in China right now. A couple months we're doing good, a couple months we're slowing down, but that also impacts the currencies that are tied to it, particularly your Aussie and your New Zealand, right? So, and the rest of the world looked at that too, from a manufacturing and supply chain standpoint. So we'll continue to watch China, but that could also, like I said, impact the Aussie and the New Zealand there. Then we have German jobless rate unexpectedly falls to 5.6%, Germany being the largest in the Eurozone. This has impact. German unemployment rate edged down to 5.6% in July, which is lower than both the previous month's readings. So that's important there. You also had Italy unemployment rate lowest since April 2009, right? So there's this balance between unemployment rate, spending, and the whole piece that ultimately leads to inflation. So if your unemployment rate is lower, you have more people with more money, which then more people can spend money. So that's still conversation that the ECB is going to have regarding unemployment, right? And will that lead to more spending, and then ultimately continue to push those inflation rates higher? All right. So things to think about, things to keep our eyes on. Over to the calendar. So here's that manufacturing PMI number on Sunday. As we move down, this is the one that we just read about here, 49.2. And then the Aussie cash rate here. Today, right? Later on, 10 o'clock, we have ISM manufacturing PMI and Joe's jobs openings for the dollar, right? Our normal beginning of the month cycle kicks off. We also have unemployment rate and employment change for the New Zealand dollar coming in tonight at 6:45. Then moving down, we got policy meeting minutes coming out of Japan at 7:50, right? So that could give us some insight on that changing of the yield curve policy, making it a little more flexible, are the words that they used initially. So we'll get more details on that tonight. Then tomorrow we got ADP non-farm employment change, which is a precursor to the Friday statement. Then on Thursday, things get interesting. We got CPI coming out of Switzerland. Then we got pound rate statement, right, coming out of the UK. This is going to be a big one. Seeing how they move forward. They're expected to increase by 25 basis points. Inflation is still high, but they've also had some interesting data come in that's been a little back and forth. So that's something we'll definitely keep our eyes on, and especially the statement and what Governor Bailey has to say afterward. Then unemployment claims and ISM services PMI for the United States. And then on Friday, right, non-farm payroll, average hourly earnings, unemployment rate, and you have unemployment rate and employment change for Canada as well, right? So normal cycle of events, things have been a little bit slow, but with the Aussie kicking off Tuesday morning, right, we got some volatility, some things happening. So any thoughts, questions, feedback, or anything from a fundamental perspective that you guys have seen that you guys want to discuss? Thank you, Carolyn. Appreciate that. Nope. All right. Cool deal. We're gonna check it out. We'll check out the DXY and see what's happening there. And then we'll dive into take a look at the Aussies after we get an update on the dollar. So DXY, boom, here we are, right? The dollar's still pushing to the upside. Okay. Broke out of this little range that we were in, tested this daily level that we broke above, and now we're continuing to push long. Okay. We'll see what happens later on in the week. If the dollar gets a turn, depending on what those non-farm payroll numbers come out to be. Also, the PMI numbers will also give us some insight as well from an inflationary perspective. But right now, the dollar's running long. Okay, dollar's running long, coming into a previous zone of consolidation here, and we got a daily resistance level here at 12,934. So we'll watch to see as we get to the top of this range again, what happens if we stall and turn over, or if we continue pressing to the upside. So we'll continue to track that there. Coming down to the 4, this is what that looks like. Boom. All right, so this is that move off the low. If we track the fibs to the downside here, that's what we look like on the 4, right? We're approaching that A boundary on this down fib. If we flip them, that's where we sit on the sub fib there, right? So we could likely take out this A as price continues to run to the upside. So we'll see. But price is pressing to the upside on the dollar, right? Dollar continues to run. Yeah, dollar continues to run. We'll see what the data says and if that slows things down tomorrow and into Friday. Okay. So that means those dollar pairs are running to the downside, right? So that's the DXY. We'll look at some indices at the end of the session, some interesting things that I want us to keep our eyes on from an indice perspective as well. So, but over to the Aussies. Let's see what happened last night. The Aussie CAD, where I talked about it over the weekend. I'm looking for price ultimately to continue to the downside, and we're getting that push, right? We're getting that push. Just this trend line a bit. Boom. Right. We're getting that push to the downside, coming back to this 87,417. I have to see if we're able to break that level to continue down and get to that matching D extension there at 86,387. Right. But we're headed there nonetheless. As we move down, and I'll get to the Discord post as well. But right, we see that continue moving to the downside. We got a 618 retracement on that down fib. So we got a ways to go here on this Aussie CAD, but price is pushing in our direction, right? This is our original setup here, right? And we got price moving to the downside, got to pull back into the zone, and then we broke down again. So headed to the downside, matching the extension 85,057. Got some work to do to break through these daily and this monthly level here. So we'll continue to watch it to see how things go from that perspective. Okay, so pressing down, coming to the one, we had this nice pullback here. Starting at the end of the week last week, we got to that 382 level, right? Pushed into the cloud, and now we're pushing back down. So we'll monitor this to see how the market responds to that rate decision from last night. But price is moving down now. We got the support level 87,406. Okay, so we'll watch to see how things transpire as we move through the day today. Okay. Yeah, that's not a swing low yet. And then we posted in the Discord off the 15-minute time frame. Let me clean this up a bit. Let me run the fibs here. I don't get down on this time frame much, but this opportunity here, right? Deep retracement here on the 15, right? Beautiful pullback, deep retracement, right? And then we got that turn and we got the push to the downside. Okay. So again, we'll watch these lower levels. I don't know why that is there. We'll watch these lower levels to see how things move, but moving to the downside nonetheless here. Okay. All of this is old. Let me bring my levels down off the higher time frame. There we go. That looks better. All right. So got that daily support level here, right? On this fib that's in line with or just below the matching D extension at 87,532. So again, got some work to do to the downside, but we're heading down nonetheless on this Aussie CAD. So if you played that move out of the Discord, out of that 8-6 retracement, you're up 79 pips or so. If you're still holding the move from a few weeks back, right? Right, that was my original entry there. We're up 210 pips on this move overall, right? With price continue moving to the downside. So we're making progress toward the end goal. Waiting on the pullback to continue short. Cool, right? Don't gotta trade them all, right? When they come, right, we'll find the right one. So good deal. So price pressure to the downside will continue to monitor. Any questions on the Aussie CAD? No? Cool deal. All right, cool. To the Aussie Swiss. we were trying to get some bullish momentum off of this before yesterday, right? Tried to get a push off these low levels, but obviously with the news, we turned back over and we're pressing back down. So I'm waiting patiently here. Like I said, we got Swiss news coming tomorrow. So I'm waiting patiently to see if we get price to push into this 118, 127 zone and turn over. Right. Make some adjustments here. That's the support level there. Right. So we'll adjust that. We got resistance there. So I do want to see if we push into this 118, 127 zone. As we zoom out, so I'm gonna go to the weekly to look at this. On the weekly, right, we're headed to the downside here. Okay, that's our fib on the weekly. If it'll stay intact, there we go. Right, so we got a 618 retracement. We did not get to that 786 level, but this here at 53,414 is an all-time low. Right, all-time low. So we want to watch price as we get closer to this level to see what transpires there. Right, see, the last time we got there, 2020, right, got a strong push back to the upside. So let's see if we continue down and retest that level. It's another 400, 500 pips to the downside. But let's see if we continue down and get to that level and then see what transpires from there. Right. So as of now, then we'll see what happens with the Swissy, but looking for high prices to get short overall. So coming down to back to the daily here, right? If we push down, right, there's that all-time low level before the de-extension, right? So we could see this continue to slide if this daily level here doesn't hold, right? We could see this continue to slide down before giving us an opportunity for a reversal. So we'll watch and see. We'll watch and see what happens and see how the market moves, right? But right now, everything's kind of pushed to the downside with Reserve Bank of Australia kind of taking more of a wait and see stance. And we know as of late, the Swissy has been strong. So, and they've been kind of ahead of the inflation conversation and ensuring that they continue to stay ahead because they don't want to have to do it a second time. So they could continue that stance and continue moving things forward from a interest rate perspective. So we could see this continue to move to the downside. As we go down to the 4, on the 4, we hit that 382. Okay, now that 4-hour extension, right, is just above that box that I had in the 118, 127 zone on that daily time frame, right? So we'll see what happens when we get to that zone, right? Maybe we get a pause and then a pullback to give us a high price on the lower time frames and then a continuation down. Okay, so I'm just watching this one now as it makes its moves to the downside, but I'll look a little closer as we push into that zone and maybe push below it. Coming down to the 1, take that off. We're playing around in this 118, 127 zone on the 1, right? But the de-extension is in line with that 118, 127 zone off the daily. Okay, so we could ultimately just continue pressing down here, right? So I'm just watching to see what happens. If we get down in the zone here, in this 118, 127 zone, right, and we start to get that sideways push, that consolidation, then I'll watch to see if we get some sort of catalyst to turn this over and push it to the upside. Okay, but right now I'm just sitting tight, allowing this one to do what it does until I get some different information, right? I don't expect anything to be different in the CPI data to show an uptick in inflation. But if it does, right, that could continue to give some bullishness to the Swissy here. Okay, so we'll watch that coming into tomorrow, right? But that's the move to the downside. So I'm just watching that Aussie Swiss, but this move down with that news, right? It fits the bill. Okay, so we'll watch that continually. So questions on the Aussie Swiss? Nope. All right. Cool deal. Yeah, and it is. It is. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as things continue to progress there. So over to the Aussie yen, pushing back down, right? Pushing back down. So we're trapped in this range right now, but overall bias on these yen crosses, right, has been, hey, everything's going to continue to run on them until the Bank of Japan changes their tone, right? So as we zoom into this, we see, right, we talked about this over the weekend, we had that spike down with that the press conference after the Bank of Japan statement, but we weren't able to close below this daily support level, right? And we pushed back to the upside in a strong way. Okay, now we're getting a bit of a pullback, but let's see if this level continues to hold and if this turns over and presses back to the upside, right? Or in those meeting minutes that come out later this week, if we get some more insight that could really push this to the downside, right? Maybe this was just an indication that, hey, we're getting ready to turn over. So we'll watch to see what happens. Bank of Japan, they with that kind of flexibility in that yield curve, they're still buying, still going on their bond buying spree. So they're still putting money into the economy to keep it inflated. So we'll see what those notes have to say to see if this turns over. But coming down to the 4, this is where we sit on the 4, right? It was a deep retracement, 8-6 level. We did stay inside that A boundary, and here's that push to the downside with that news. So let's monitor this here, and we'll look at it on the 1-hour time frame as well, but I'm going to monitor to see what happens. We could come back down to this daily level and then give another bounce to the upside, right? So pressing down right now, we'll see what happens. If we break this daily level and it's a close on the daily, then I'll look for this to continue to move to the downside. So that's how I'm looking at it right now. Is this 93,352 is going to be a key level for us. Coming down to the 1, that push to the upside broke that A boundary on the 1. All right, so we flipped the fib, run it to the upside. We had a fresh AB boundary, and now we're pushing down, coming into a 618 retracement level. Right, so what we could see is a pullback and a continuation to the downside to get to this daily support and take out the A again and kind of confirm this range here. So I'm watching this one as well to see what happens. It didn't take it off the B boundary there, or that deep retracement. So I'm watching to see what happens, to see how this moves and what happens at this 93,352 level. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at on this Aussie yen. Anybody got anything different than that? No.
I wasn't for sure my stock got hit in profit, so I just left it alone because I wasn't sure what JPY was going up to.
You were long on it?
I was long on it.
Okay.
I was got in
Off the top.
yeah, I had got in off that low.
Yeah.
And then it
I
was a
dig it.
wick. Wick took me out. Yep.
Yeah, right here.
Yep, right there.
Off that news, yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. It's all gonna be dependent on that Bank of Japan narrative, man. So I'm watching it as well to see
You
what
think
happens.
it's ranging right now in between those two?
Yeah. If this daily level confirms, that'll confirm that range, right? But right now, this is where we're sitting. See what I'm saying? And it's just sideways. If you pull these off, right, and just look at it, it's just sideways. So that's what I'm looking at. And that's kind of why I have this this view of this daily support level here, right? And then I'm gonna watch the tone that they take in those meeting minutes. So we'll see. We'll see, right? You also got some previous consolidation down here as well that we'll run into at some point. So but yeah, I think we're stuck in this range and we could hit the bottom of that and then push back long. Right. This is a level of daily resistance here. Right. So we bring that down and that'll kind of clear things up for us on that. You do more on the day, on the 1 hour, you see it better right there. Right. So from what I've read, they're looking at things, right? Question was, is the BOJ trying to bring strength to the yen? Ultimately, they want to continue to keep things cheap because they are export economy. So they want to keep things cheap, and they've done that for quite some time. But they also don't, that what they're trying to avoid is sharp spikes in one direction or the other. That's what they're trying to avoid. So the way they talked about the way they talked about the conversation with the yield curve control and the loosening of it is, they were saying that it'll give them more flexibility in the event that there are sharp spikes in one direction or the other, and they can come in and intervene so that they're able to ultimately have a smoother path in either direction. Their unemployment was low. The unemployment decreased, so that kind of gives them a little bit more flexibility as well, because they're trying to get their inflation up to 2%, right? So they're kind of going in the opposite direction. And they want to keep it in between the 2 to 3% range, and it's been relatively low overall. So they're moving it to the upside, and they're monitoring things from that perspective. Now, could things change? Excuse me. Sure, they definitely could, especially as the world changes and as the larger economies shift. We could see a shift in that dynamic in the near future. But they haven't made any firm statements on them changing their monetary policy fully just yet. So we'll see. We'll see if that strength comes to the end or not. In this year sometime, we'll see. But that's what a lot of people are anticipating, is for them to start increasing their rate some, and this change in the yield curve is a step in that direction. That's what a lot of folks are taking it as. So And if it is a step in that direction, and if that conversation is what they kind of see in the meeting notes, right, we could see this daily support level taken out, right, and we could see price continue to fall to the downside. So we'll watch it. We'll watch it and see what happens and see what the market tells us. All right. Any other thoughts or questions on the Aussie yen? No. Cool deal. All right. Aussie New Zealand down. So daily. Actually, yeah, daily. All right. We had this nice move to the downside, 618. Played the move back up, got to this daily resistance. We stalled, and then we're pressing back to the downside. So with this daily support level here that we're approaching, we want to see if this level holds again and gives us a double bottom. All right. Does this level hold, give us a double bottom and push long, or do we break it and head down to that A boundary in that weekly support at 105,601? All right. So that overall, that's how I'm looking at this. Right. Matching the extension is here off of a 50% retracement. Right. Let's see what happens at this level. Okay. Let's see what happens at this level. But we could continue to the downside, right? We could break that and continue moving down and ultimately get to. We got some New Zealand data coming in this week as well, right? And that could be a catalyst to push this to the downside further. So 107,217 is going to be key. Bring this down. Right, and we see the range that we've been playing in there. Okay, so fibs taken out in both directions. We're pushing back to the downside now. So run the fib down. The extension is right in line with that daily support level, right? We'll watch this 80-20 situation here, but we could just continue falling, right? We could not see a reversal here. I had that news yesterday. Excuse me. So we could see that this just continue to fall. So if you're looking at this 80-20 to the downside here, make sure you add some additional confirmation on that, right? And allow for price to swing. But we could likely get to that D extension and that 107,217 level, right? Top of the range to the bottom of the range. And we could be stuck here for a while, right? We could be stuck here for a bit. So just be aware of that. Coming down to the 1, right? We tap the 382 here on the spike and we're pressing down, right? So this is that back and forth, right? You got a 382 push here. You didn't get it on the 4-hour. This D extension is in line with that support level. So is the 4-hour D extension, right? So looking for this one to continue move down. That kind of confirmed it a bit there. So not going to play a reversal here. I'm just going to allow this one to go and see if we can get to that level. Once we get there, then we'll look for a reset, right, on the 1-hour and see if we get a nice push to the upside from there. So another one I'm sitting tight on, but pressing to the downside with the news nonetheless. So we're headed to the D extension and headed to a daily support level. All right. Questions on that Aussie New Zealand? Cool. And the Aussie dollar. We're gonna look at these crosses also, but pressing down, right? We got the dollar running to the upside, okay, and we got this Aussie yen. Aussie dollar pressing down. We got daily support coming in here at 65,929, right? And we see this is just the range we've been playing in for quite some time. Do we stay there, right? We got dollar data coming out later. Dollar data coming out later, right? Will that push us off that support level back to the upside and give a retracement on the dollar? Okay. We'll see. We'll see. All right. But coming down to that level. So to the 4. Got just shy of that 618. 50% retracement, pressing down. Okay. Pressing down. So we'll see where things fall. We'll see where things fall as we continue to go, right? Are we able to break the support level? Or does this level hold and we push back to the upside and we stay in the range? Okay. So this one will be interesting to see. We got that extension level down here at 64,998. So we'll watch and see what transpires there. Coming to our 1, still back and forth, right? This was our AB boundary here coming off the high, right? And price just continued to fall to the downside. Tried to break that trend line, but continues short, right? And so now it's getting choppy, right? I got fibs going in both directions, but here was a nice 8-6 retracement. Matching the extension is here in line with that support. So we're about to hit that level. I don't know if anybody took this trade. I missed this move to the downside, but if anybody snagged that last night, yesterday morning, actually, that the extension is in play. Okay. So we'll see what happens once we get here with the dollar data coming in later today and through the rest of the week. All right. But pressing down right now, we could stall here though. Just be aware of that. Yeah, potentially done that. All right. Questions on this Aussie dollar? Nope. All right. Let's look at this Euro Aussie. It's been interesting, right? Crown pattern still in, well, before I get there, right? We're still working on this fib on the weekly. All right. We're still working here. It's been choppy as of late, but price is still creating higher lows, right? Still running to the upside. So we got a monthly resistance at 168,272. That weekly D extension is here. I mean, that weekly 382 is here. Yeah, Carol, Smart Trader helps with those levels and understanding the sequence. It's a beautiful thing. Once you build the patience and the trust in the process, and that's the hardest part. As I was evolving and learning the Fibonacci sequence this way, that was the hardest piece, was just trusting that the levels work, right? And they do, they work, right? The Fibonacci sequence is the Fibonacci sequence, but to wrap your mind around that and allow it to go looks simple, but the mental piece part of the game is the most difficult. So yeah, but coming down here to the daily, right? Crown pattern still intact, right? We've been caught in the range, and you see just kind of railroad tracks here, down, up, or up, down. We're pushing back to the upside. So let's see if we're able to break this level here at 165,889 finally, and get that push to the upside, all right, and continue driving. 80-20 sell on a 30-minute. We'll check it out in a second, Reese. That'll be interesting. So, but this is the level that I'm watching. I want to see us break this level finally and continue that move to the upside. coming down to the 4, right? There's that range that we just been bouncing in. And here's our fib overall, right? Just missed the 382 there, and we're pressing to the upside, right? So still bullish on the euro. Interesting back and forth data. Interesting tone from Christine Lagarde, but overall still pushing to the upside. Okay. Down on a 1 is where things got a little bit clearer. Right, 618 retracement, 618 retracement, push. All right, just shy of that 786 level, push to the upside. So coming into this resistance level, right, we got to break through this level in order for this move to continue pushing up. Okay, let me adjust this. Let me see something here. Just want to make sure this level is right. All right. So that's where we are, right? So we're pushing along, matching the extension on the 1 hours there. Okay, so continue moving to the upside. It's been choppy, but let's see if we can finally finish this out, right? Here's the larger fib, right? These are just those smaller waves within. Whoops. This is our capital fib here, right? So we got an 8-6 retracement here on the larger move. That matching D extension is there just above this daily level, right? So we still got some work to do to get there. Okay, so let's continue watching to see how it goes. Anybody holding this long from the original position, or from the 3rd or 4th or 5th time to the downside? No. Stopped out on profit. I did too originally. And that's why I ran this sub fib. That gave me this entry here on this push long. Yeah, it's been an interesting scenario though. I'm not mad at you for sitting and watching, because yeah, that back and forth has been wild. Back and forth has been wild. So but let's see if we can finish this thing out and finish that move to the upside. All right. Questions on this Aussie, on this Euro Aussie? Oh, 30-minute reach. Let's look at that real quick. That's the 15. Let's see. Did you run your fib off that most recent low, Reese? That's the larger fib there. Still got work to the upside. I got you. Okay. Yeah, let's see. So you got your fib running here. Yeah, I think that's gonna hit that D extension, man. The extension is right there. Yeah, that one might get taken out. Yeah. Yeah, that's still pushing. And you got that daily level. This was the previous daily level here. Yeah, I don't know about that one turning around. Let's see how the market opens. But yeah, I think that's gonna get hit. Yeah, I do. So Yeah, keep watching. It may. See when the market opens. Like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see how the investors respond, right? Because that news came out overnight. So you've had your London session, right? And you got now your New York session getting ready to open. So it'll be interesting to see how investors take it after everything is settled. So that could push it in one direction or the other. So we'll watch to see. All right, stalling out right now ahead of that open. So we could stall out a bit and continue to move sideways. Hey, man, I feel you. I feel you on that low price for sure. For sure. If we get that pushback down like that, all right, that'll be a great opportunity. Great opportunity. Yeah. Let's see. Let's continue to watch it. All right. So that's the Euro Aussie. Pound Aussie. Similar look, but it's going. So this is where we are on the daily. All right. We got pound rate statement coming later in the week, right? Been bouncing back and forth here at these levels. Go back to the monthly real quick just to see. Yeah, so we actually broke above that level and closed. So that level is no longer valid. We'll take that out and we're going to look at it like that. To the weekly, we'll clear it out as well. This is going to be interesting. And this is the look on the weekly here. All right. Headed to the D extension. We got a 382 push. Okay. Headed to the D extension here at 196.075. All right. Got some work to do because we do have this level here. All right. These two candles lower than that center point. So technically that's our swing high, right? D extension just outside of that zone. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. All right. See what happens here. If we're able to break above that, get there, do we then turn over and get a retracement, right? And then does that put us in line for a crown pattern? Right? Do we push up, get to that D extension, create a swing high, and then reverse? All hypothetical stuff I'm talking about right now, but just looking at the chart and where things sit over time, could we see this? In the grand scheme of things, right? When you're looking at it sheerly from a range, right? Larger range, right? Top of the range, bottom, right? Bottom. So we got these pushes down. Now we're slowly making our way back up. So could we see this within all of this? Could we see this crown pattern develop and then push to the upside to get to that level? We'll see. We'll see what happens here. We'll see what happens. That'll be interesting. So let's see if we can get to that D extension there. So now coming back to the daily time frame here, right? This level is no longer. This level is a weekly level. Boom, like so. And that's where we are, right? So we haven't gotten a 382 here, right? Actually, one more thing on the weekly time frame, just to keep some of this in my eyesight. Let's do this. Solid line there. We'll take this down. That's our weekly D extension. That's our weekly D extension. So this is what then gets interesting, right? That whole scenario we just talked about, right? We also here on the daily have a shallow retracement. 118 and 127 zone is here, just above this weekly level. That's our weekly D extension. So now, if we get the push into this weekly D extension, that puts us firmly in that 118, 127 zone and just above, right? And then do we get that reversal? Right. So if we zoom back out and look at that potential crown pattern that I was talking about on the weekly, that's what that would look like on the daily time frame. And so then this would be the scenario. Let's see how this evolves. Let's see how this evolves. All right. See if we get this 80-20 play off the daily. Okay. After this push into this weekly D extension. Let's watch that. All right. But we're pressing long right now. Pressing long right now. Coming down to the 4. Whoops. There's that consolidation there, right? You got a little bit of a crown pattern right there in that consolidation, pressing to the upside, like so. Boom, right? Overall, been long, 50% retracement, matching D extension is here. So on the 4 hour, the D extension just inside that weekly D extension, right? So that also gives us more confirmation that we'll continue pushing to the upside, right? Still got work to do to break through that 193, 961 level, but pressing long nonetheless. Okay. Let's see. I'm curious on this now, right? We had some crown action happen here. Right. Now we're pressing to the upside. Boom. There's your fib on that. Look at there. 50% retracement off the harmonic fib. D extension right in line with that weekly D extension. Let's see. Things are lining up for that. So we'll watch and see. Line up for that weekly D extension to be achieved. And then we'll see if we get some reversals out. All right. But long right now on the pound. Long right now on the pound. I'll take that off of there for now. We'll watch that larger one coming down to the 1. That off. That is weekly. Whoops. That's weekly. Change that red. Let's refresh. Go. All right. Change that to the weekly. Boom. All right. So moving stuff all over the place here. There we go. All right, so let's come back, see if we can find our fib. There we go. So there's our fib on the 1. Also in line with that weekly D extension, right? 50% retracement here as well, pushing long. Yeah, we could hang around here a bit. We'll see what happens with that rate statement. Expected 25. Things are still dicey in the UK. Let's see if we get that push, that spike to the upside there. Okay, so looking long overall on this one as well. Got some work to do, but I'm looking at this zone for price to move into, and then I'll look for some reversals. Then I'll look for some reversals. So let's track that and see what happens. Questions on the pound. Does my thought process here make sense from the weekly all the way down? Very cool. Cool. So we'll see what transpires, but that's what I'm looking for, right? Continue to the upside there. What we got here? Yeah, Carolyn, I like being able to have the time frame separated like this because it makes it less cluttered. Because you guys see sometimes when I come to this all pairs where I have the dollar crosses the DXY, last couple pounds, the New Zealand's, and then commodities and the indices. It gets kind of dicey with those single charts set up that way. So I do like being able to, have everything broken down here. I haven't found a need to go up to the highest level yet. I will at some point where I can have all of them on their own individual charts, but I haven't made that decision yet. But yeah, so that's what it is. That's what it is. I do like it though. I do like it. Smart Trader is it works. It works. It's a great tool. Great tool. They're very even though their their updates get a little interesting, they were thoughtful in the overall design, I think, of the platform. So yeah. So but any questions on that pound Aussie? No? All right. So a couple of things I want to look at. Not gonna do full breakdowns, but this on the 1 hour, right? Dollar yen pushing to the D extension here, right? See what happens as price pushes up into this zone. Okay. Yeah, let's watch it as price continues to push higher here. So just keep your eyes on this dollar yen as it's pushing long, and the other yen crosses for that matter. And see if we start to see things slow down and get some reversals out. That's the dollar yen. Oil, I'm keeping my eyes on. What I'd really like to see, I don't trade oil a lot, and this is on the 4 hour. Oil is pressing to the upside in a really strong way. What I'd really like to see is a low price to get long. All right, so we pushed into this 118 127 zone here on the 4. We might end up tapping this 83.29 level, but I'm sitting waiting patiently as we've been in this consolidation for quite some time. And if we do come back, right, this is what it looks like. We came to the low 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then we pushed off, and we're coming back to this daily resistance level. Right, so I'm looking to see if we can start to get some bullish momentum on oil and really break out of this consolidation and move higher. Right, if you come back out to the weekly time frame, here's your 80-20 scenario. Shallow retracement. We didn't get to that 382, push down into this 118 127 double bottom there, and right, this is that consolidation that we see from generally we see it more on the lower time frames, but this is still that consolidation, right? Let's keep that block. This is still that consolidation. Oh shoot! Oh, right. So, and then this one will come. Right, our lowest point is here. However, price just moved sideways, so we shifted to the outermost point like so. Right. So if we're able to break this 83.29 and break that trend line, right, we could be off to the upside. and ultimately getting to that 382. So I'm watching this. I would love to see a pullback to come and retest this last consolidation zone here, and then get a push long like that. Generally, I don't trade oil, but if we get this action here and a deep retracement into the sweet spot on the lower time frame on this 4, I'll look to take a position and just look to hold that long. But that's what I'm looking for on oil. You still hold long? Hey, that's great work, Joy. I love it. Joy got an entry somewhere down here in this range, and that's a beautiful thing. Great work.
68.15. So I just deleted
15.
that order. Well, not the one I'm holding. I was looking for that 4-hour one too. So I'm glad that you went over this.
Looking for this here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, man. I don't know what the catalyst would be, but I would definitely love to see this happen. The slowdown in China could help.
China, yeah,
that could help. And then we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the Canadian dollar on Friday. Yeah, we'll see. Or if they start talking recession fears again, that could turn that over and push it to the downside as well. Me too, Reese. Me too, man. Definitely trying to be like Joy. 68.15 is crazy. That's a beautiful situation. All right. So let's see. Yeah. But we could see that pullback. We could see that pullback. So we'll watch that on oil. The other thing, other thing I was looking at yesterday, stock market, right? Just building out some potential scenarios. So this is your S&P 500, right? S&P 500. So check this out. Pull all this out. Boom. Y'all got it. On the weekly time frame here. So this D extension was hit. And what was I looking at yesterday? Was I tripping? I had a weekly D extension here. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. I knew something was off. Here we go. So we're pressing long on S&P 500, right? We got a 618 retracement. It's on a weekly time frame. Matching D extension is here, 474.84, right? On the lower time frames, we'll be able to see it more clearly, but ultimately pushing back to this high, this previous high, and creating a new all-time high, right? We haven't been here before, all right? Haven't been here before. Okay, so creating a new all-time high, getting to this D extension. That's what it looks like we're headed to, right? So if in my head, right, if the stock market continues to rise, we'll see the dollar pull back, right? So potentially looking for some pullbacks on the DXY in the near future. But stock market pushing to the upside, getting to this D extension on the weekly time frame, creating an all-time high, right? Which will also be a double top on the weekly time frame if price turns over at that level, right? So you got a D extension there. Coming down to your daily. Get this to come in, right? So coming down to your daily, now we run our fib off this low, right? That pushed down, took that fib out. Now we're pushing back to the upside. So we run our fib off the low here. Boom. That weekly D extension is an 80-20. Shallow retracement. We're in that 118, 127 zone right now, but we could push through that zone to get to that D extension. Right? Could push through that zone to get to that D extension. Right? And that's a strong level, and it's an all-time high. Right? So watching that closely, it's also a monthly resistance level. So if we get there and immediately turn over and press down, don't close above, confirm that monthly level as a swing high, right? Confirm it as a level of resistance, maybe, right? And 80-20 on your daily time frame. Okay. So that's the daily. And bring this over so you guys can ultimately see what I'm potentially looking at. Yeah, you can trade anything, Carolyn. It doesn't matter the asset class. If you wanted to go trade live cattle, you could. I've marked up the charts and it's the same. But 80-20 scenario on the daily. So got weekly D extension, 80-20 on the daily, right? Weekly D extension there. Now, as we come down to the 4, come down to the 4, right? Run the fibs here. Boom. Right, so your fibs off the low on the 4, you got your 4-hour D extension. Right, so weekly D extension, 4-hour D extension, all-time high, monthly resistance. Right, this zone is making up to be a strong one. Right, and you could start to hear the narratives. Once you might start to hear the narrative over, and investors and retail traders, get excited. Oh, all-time highs in the stock market, yada, yada, yada. You'll hear that narrative potentially start to pick up, right? Coming down to the 1. If I can get everything to pop in, boom. You also got a 1-hour D extension along with that 4-hour D extension. You guys see where I'm tracking here? This could be a very, very strong zone, and you could have some short sellers sitting up here waiting on this all-time high price and looking short. Right, top of a range, double top on a weekly, double top on a daily. Right, we could see this push here, and if these zones hold, we could see a reversal. Right, from a higher time frame perspective. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at here on the S&P 500. Now, I know I'm going over, but hang in there with me for a minute. Got similar action on the Dow Jones as well. Right, so here on the Dow, 382 retracement, matching D extension is here. We're pulling back a bit right now, right? Let's see if we get a push to the upside there. Okay, but weekly D extension here, right? Got previous all-time high level here. Okay, so it could be a double top scenario. right? So let's see if we get it more pushes to the upside in the coming weeks. See if we get more pushes to the upside here, right? Weekly D extension there. Coming down to the daily. Run our fib to the upside. Boom. Daily D extension is here. Options. Yeah, I've traded some options. I've traded some futures. It's the thing that you have to do is transpose the information from Smart Trader to your charts, because it's the same. I actually did some training years ago with there's some folks trading they traded options, and they wanted to learn the methodology and the thought processes, and this is before we started the inner circle. And so sat down with them, and they're just really big on the fundamental side. So they looked at all the fundamentals, and who owns the companies and all of that, and who was buying and selling, and they did relatively well with what they were doing. But walked them through this process, and they didn't believe me. They didn't believe it at all, and ended up marking up Apple and Tesla when they had those big dips back in like 2020, something like that. And I said, hey, once it gets to these levels, you're gonna want to get short. And they didn't believe me, and they were buying. They were still buying as it was running up, and they ended up losing a decent amount of money because they fell to some lower levels. I'll pull it up and I'll show you what it looked like. But yeah, it's the process is the same. We can connect offline. I have a broker that I used on the future side, that I can connect you with. They trade, they do it all. They trade options. They do currency as well. But they have different platforms that they use. So we can connect and we can talk about it more. It's the process is the same. The biggest thing is just understanding the trade sizes, and ultimately on the option side, not as much. On the future side, the capital requirements are a little bit different. Well, a lot different. You need more capital there, but on the option side, you don't need a ton of capital to do it. And you can track it just the same as we do in currency. So yeah, we can chat about it. I'll get you a link. 1 second, Eloy. I got you. But yeah. We can definitely kick it about it. So that's it though, right? So looking at price pushing to the upside on the Dow Jones, we got this daily D extension there, right? Pushing long. So we'll watch to see when price gets there, and we'll look for a retracement to come. Then as we move down to the 4, so about boom, right? We just missed the 382 there on that spike, and 118 and 127 zone, just shy of that daily D extension and that weekly D extension. So we got a 4-hour 80-20 scenario with those levels getting hit, right? So other strong zones, the action looks similar. Right, to the S&P 500, right? 80-20 scenario there. We come down to the 1. And there's our fib on the 1. 80-20 scenario. So we got a 4-hour, 1 hour, 80-20 with a daily and a weekly D extension being hit in this range. So on the Dow Jones, I'm watching this range as a key one. Let's see if we get some big time reversals coming out of it. All right. I didn't do the NASDAQ, but if you look at the NASDAQ, I wouldn't be surprised if you see something similar. Right. So I'm looking for this action to happen. Right. This action to happen, the dollar potentially pulling back, and then potentially seeing a shift. So this is me just looking forward and looking at the technical side of it. Don't know what the fundamentals would be that would cause it, but that's what I'm looking at as potential ideas as price continues to move forward. So anybody that trades those indices, there you go. See when price gets up there and see if you get some confirmations on reversals. All right. Questions there? Questions on anything that we covered this morning? Eloy, give me 1 second. Let me get that link for you. No questions, no questions. Oh. All right. So, good people. Tonight we'll be back at it 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Asian session with my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen. And we'll see what transpires throughout the day. All right. We'll see what transpires throughout the day. The opportunity's there, man. The opportunity's there, right? We just got to be patient, take our time, and wait for our zones to be achieved. Okay. There's a link for Smart Trader. Get you a discount for the first month at $4.95. So go ahead and check it out there. You are welcome. So have an awesome, awesome, awesome Tuesday, and we'll see you tonight. All right. Peace.
Thank you.
Welcome.